This is the Tom Bigby Tales, and I'm your host, Shannon Evans. I write about a small town in northeast Mississippi called Columbus, and sometimes I write about the rest of the state. And tonight I have with me Councilman Stephen Jones, who is the mayoral candidate in our town, along with two other gentlemen. I've interviewed Mr. Darren Leach, who's also running for the position. Tonight I have the honor of having Stephen Jones with us. And let's just say welcome and introduce yourself, and then we'll dig right into the questions.
First of all, I'll say thank you for having me. I am Councilman Stephen Jones. I've been a councilman for 9 years now, and I am a mayoral candidate for the city of Columbus.
I'm really grateful you're here. I have a list of questions. I'm asking you the same questions I asked Mr. Leach out of fairness. I
Okay.
will say some of the follow-up questions may change depending on your responses and the conversations we have. So this is really
Okay.
just a conversation to help me and help my listeners know more about who you are, what you stand for, and what your goals are for this town, and how you plan to address some of the issues our town faces, just so many other small towns. So, my first question is, if elected, what are your goals and how would you fund them? And then can you prioritize those?
Yeah. What are my goals? The goals are to continue a lot of the work that we're already doing. For instance, making sure that people are safe by adding cameras, continuing to add cameras in, finishing amphitheaters. I've talked to the CVB just this week on them partnering with us to finish it. We have $1 million already that the state gave us. We have $1 million that we plan on putting in, possibly, and then working with the CVB and possibly the county on doing some in-kind services. So that would be a way to pay for that. As far as the cameras, we'll be paying for those. We'll apply for grants, but we have been paying for them through general fund. I think that's very important so that we can make sure people feel safe. Columbus is faced with the same problems as everybody else, a shortage of police officers, and having cameras around the city is just a way to be able to help them in places that they can't be. We have cameras there so that they can monitor they can go back and look at them now to see what crime, but hopefully in the future we would, which we've applied for funding to try to build a crime lab that would actually house TV screens that'll be connected to the camera so that we can monitor the cameras daily. Or if we can't monitor them at all times, then maybe have some type of AI technology that would be able to send things to the police cars when something happens. Because the last thing you want is something to happen and the police pass the person coming out while they're going in and nobody's monitoring the camera. So we want to make sure that we're using technology the way that it should be used. We do have the blight program. We have $6 million in the blight program that we are actively trying to get the D's and people to sell them, but that's not an easy project. If you look at Barnes Bottom project, I've been on the council 9 years, and I think they've been working on it 9 years and just got the last piece of property. So it's not always easy as people think it is just to wake up one morning and say we're going to tear down all the blight houses and redevelop. It's not that easy. You have to go through the process and get these properties. That's one of the major things that I want. I've actually talked to some investors that are actually ready and on board and ready to invest. Once we do get the first property, they'll be ready to buy it and build something on it. So those are ways that we're going to try to improve our city.
Will those be single dwelling homes on those properties, or are we talking about putting in duplexes? My
Well,
my
mostly, most
concern is that you don't want to destroy a neighborhood that is a neighborhood.
right.
We want to
Well, I would love
build.
to see a bunch of single homes. The project that I'm talking about first, the first person that wants to invest, they are looking to build a single family affordable home. And hopefully we'll have multiple single family affordable homes. That's what I would prefer. We have to look at what people are offering and what they are, but I would prefer they be single family homes.
We need them. You're right.
Yes.
We need
Yes.
people invested in the community.
Yes. And we want to have, but they single family homes, then people have yards to play in for their kids to play in and different things like that. We want to make it a community.
On your first day in office, what do you plan to do and who do you plan to meet with?
That's easy for me because I'm a councilman already, so I constantly meet with people already. So on my first day of office, I really don't know. I would meet with my COO and let's develop a plan on how we want to move forward.
Okay. All right. Since we have a weak mayor strong council system, and you've had lots of experience working on a council, how do you propose to get the council to consider your plans going forward, especially with these ideas of the cameras, the blight program, the
Uh,
amphitheater, etc.
That's easy. It's communication. If you're good at communicating with people and meeting with them, then you may not agree on everything, but you could always come to a consensus and work together. So I've worked with two different administrations. So I'm familiar with what to do and what not to do and how to react and how to work with people. I've been working with people all my life, no matter whether they black, white, Republican. I can work across the aisle and we just communicate with each other and come to agreement. We may not always agree, but we could definitely work it out to where it's going to be beneficial to the citizens of Columbus.
Okay. If there are not enough funds to adequately support your plans that you propose, what measures would you take to see your plans come to fruition? I know that the popular word is grants, but you and I both know that grants are drying up due to the current presidential administration that we are in and this austerity world that is embraced by this administration on a national level, which
Mhm.
impacts us all the way down to a state and then a local level. So, how do you think you would take measures that your plans for the amphitheater and for the cameras and for safe neighborhoods? What would you do?
Well, once you start rebuilding homes, that's going to give you a tax base. That's the only way that we're going to survive anything. We have to rebuild our city and rebuild our homes and build our tax base back up. If we finish the amphitheater, then that's going to bring in 2% tax. That would also allow you to do other things. So I think tourism is going to be a way to go. Also, we just have to look at it's not going to be easy, but we have to look at ways to, if the grant's not there, then we just have to look at ways where we may have to cut something somewhere else to try to get these things, because these things are important. Because if you don't have a tax base, or if you don't finish the amphitheater and it's just sitting there, then it's just wasted space that we could be getting money from. When people come to town, they're going to stay in your hotels. The next morning, they're going to eat somewhere, or they're going to be, what I'm saying? So you generate money, and you have to invest in order to generate. That's business 101.
So, knowing that and what you've said about the amphitheater and needing to create new tax base, the Burns Bottom Redevelopment Authority, the current mayor, to me, and this is in my humble opinion, has not been willing to work across the table to support them in redeveloping and rebuilding. Now, while I am concerned about the type of and the expense of the buildings that will go in there, the square footage cost they're proposing, I still think it needs to be finished. Otherwise, it's just overgrown green space that's not being used around those soccer fields. So, how would you propose to support the redevelopment authority in actually developing home
Well,
basis or something down there that fills that space so that it right now it's not generating any tax revenue?
they just got the last property, and they actually have someone. They had someone before, and I'm not going to really. We all know what happened with the last person that wanted to invest down there, and what happened with the current administration getting in the way of that. But they do actually have somebody that's ready to invest in it now. And they signed the MDA, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'll let them announce it when they're getting ready. But they are
It is
plans
moving
on something
forward,
coming. Yes, it is something that's moving forward on it.
but you do support the
I should
finishing, the completion,
I support it 100%.
and the
We have to
infrastructure.
get it. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the infrastructure that has to go in down there in order for this development to go forward.
They've gotten some money. They actually got some money from some federal dollars, and I'm pretty sure Light and Water will probably do some in-kind stuff down there as well. But all that will be moving forward, the infrastructure and the completion of what's going to be going down there. That will be moving forward. Like I said, I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to give away, or I don't want to say anything that's going to cost us the deal or anything. So, but
Understood.
they do have some stuff that's in the works down there.
So the project is moving forward finally.
Yes, that project is moving forward. Not the original project, but
A
something is
project.
moving forward. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So let's move on to economic development because
hmm
economic development is critical to this town's future. What strategies will you use to attract new business to Columbus, and what incentives, if any, would you offer?
Well, you have to look at that per company and what they're bringing to the table on incentive. Of course, if they're going to be bringing in jobs and bringing in different things, then we may incentivize them or try to help them out to get started. We've done it in the past a number of times just for people investing in the city. So you have to look at it on a case by case basis. Again, it all comes back to developing houses. If we have enough people, then people are going to want to come here. And that's how we will get people here by redeveloping and building homes and getting more people back into the city. And once you do that, then other stuff will follow.
Okay. How will you support local entrepreneurship and small businesses, those that are existing and those that might be built?
I'm a big supporter of small businesses. I support them. I encourage people to support them. If it's anything that the city can do, the city will be open for business, and I will be behind any small business 100%. Anything that we can do to support them and help them grow better. It's the same as whether it was a big company. If we can give some incentive to help small businesses open, then we'll definitely look at that. Of course, it takes the council also.
What types of incentives can cities offer to small businesses? I'm not saying ours can, but what, if you were to explain that to someone who wasn't familiar with it, what does that look like?
Well, it just depends. I mean, it depends on what kind of business and what it's going to bring to the city. And we may give some tax incentives. Just say if they're going to remodel an old building that's just been sitting there, we may say, okay, we'll leave the tax at the current rate for a few years so they can get on their feet. And then we take the taxes up on it. So those are ways that you can incentivize people to invest and to do stuff. And it also helps with the look of the city as well. They did that a lot downtown. Yeah.
What type of industries do you think Columbus should focus on for economic growth?
Well, actually, Columbus, we just don't have the space, the land to bring in any kind of big industry. So the most only thing that you're going to get is rebuilding homes or retail or restaurants. That's mostly what we're going to get in Columbus because we just don't have the space. It's not like back in the day where they had General Tire and these other factories that was here in Columbus. These companies need a whole lot more space and they want to be close to where the airports are or rivers or railroads. So all of those things, that's why those mega sites are coming out, towards the airport because they need certain things in order to operate. So you're just not going to have those type of plants coming back into the city because we don't have the type of land that they need and all the things that they offer.
We also don't
We'll
want the
have to.
we also don't want the pollution that came with those in
Right.
town.
Yeah, that either. So the only thing that we'll be able to focus on mostly is your retail, restaurants,
Entertainment.
entertainment. I think we are on the cuff if we finish the amphitheater, and we on the cuff of being a great entertainment city. And I think that's what's going to help us.
That leads me to this question. We are or should be a bedroom community for the people who are working out at those industrial parks
Mhm.
between here and the airport.
Well, we should. We have to build affordable homes for them to stay in and nice homes. Not everybody wants older homes. When we built here, 7 years ago, my wife told me point blank she did not want to live in an old house. I had no choice but to find a lot and build a home. A lot of people want to stay in Columbus, but they don't want to live in old houses either with the cost
And
that comes with
there's not very many
maintaining.
lots.
Right. So once we start this bike program, I think that's going to help us a lot.
Okay. Now, Columbus could be the next music and entertainment capital of the South, especially with the entertainment corporations choosing to leave California. And you
Mhm.
touched on this about finishing the amphitheater. Once that amphitheater is built, how can the city, partnering with other groups, say the CVB, how do you think you, as a leader in the city, can help take advantage of making this an entertainment community? Because music is not what it used to be in this community. Columbus used to be
Right.
an epicenter. There was the Chisholm Trail where people like Big
Mhm.
Joe Williams, the Big Bop. We had good bands that came here for years. We had the Queen City Hotel. That's no longer
Right.
here. You know,
Right.
we had Johnny and Helen's. We had all these places. We had a lot of places on the island, some of which could be named and some of which maybe shouldn't. They were epicenters of music and entertainment, and that's gone away. Is that culture gone, or can it be revived in this community?
No,
And
I think it could be revived. Look at the trawler. When we have acts that come to the trawler, they're packed. So I definitely think that we're definitely still can be an entertainment city. And because people coming from when they leave Memphis and headed to Atlanta or they headed to New Orleans, this is definitely the right place for them to be able to stop. We're just a big enough market and we're a small enough market that they can come perform one night and move on to the next destination. So I think we definitely can succeed in the music industry and in the entertainment industry.
Okay.
And as a mayor, I love music. I'm a huge Prince fan. I love music, so I like concerts. I like going to concerts. So I'll definitely be doing whatever I can as mayor to make sure that this is the place for them to stop through. And actually on the amphitheater, we're gonna on the amphitheater, Red Mountain. We hope to get them to manage it for some of the bigger acts, but we'll also be on for some of the smaller acts as well.
Okay. How many seats are we thinking will fit
I
in?
want to say it's going to end up being about 3,500.
Wow. That's
Yes.
bigger than it was originally.
No, I think it was originally about 30, 35. Yeah,
Okay.
3,035. Yeah.
Okay.
I know if anybody out there want to go take a look at LaGrange, Georgia, I think they seat about 2,500, but their population is somewhere around the same size that we are, and they can look and see some of the acts that they get, and those will be some of the same people that would probably be coming here, like your Travis Tritts and your Escapes and different things, those kind of people, your '90s groups and your country singers and people that are not looking to fill huge arenas, but looking to come in, entertain, and keep going.
The community size
Yes,
performances. Okay.
definitely.
So let's shift a little because music is important and entertainment center is important, but that kind of leads to that in between population, which is what I call the youth retention and youth development. So this is going to be probably because it's a kind of near and dear to my heart. How do you focus on building community that will care and nurture our children?
Uh, that's a hard question. If we could figure that out, then I think every city around the United States would be doing a lot better. But as a mayor, I'm definitely going to do my part. As a council, we've been doing our part. We're investing in Pros Park, $4.4 million. Well, in Pros Park and all of our other parks, trying to make sure that people have a safe place to go, that kids have a safe place to play. We're actually redoing the fields, pickleball, tennis, splash pads. We're trying to make sure that we're giving these kids the things that they need to be outside and not sitting in the house playing games all the time. We actually have a building down there that we've started some work on. Jamie, our COO, is her project, but we have a building down there that we want to turn into a recreation center for kids to be able to come and maybe with some pool tables, some games, some different things like that. So we definitely want to make sure that our kids have things to do. Also, Hunt High, once they get through with that, they're actually partnering with Columbus Park and Rec. They have a nice gym that they've redone, and it's going to be really nice that they'll be able to go in and play basketball there. So there'll be places. They're going to redo the East Columbus gym. They're redoing the floor in it. They should be starting on it pretty soon, or they would have been started already, but they had a leak that they had to fix. So that right there would be another place where they can play basketball. So we'll have gyms. A lot of people say gyms at Pros Park, but I think we're going to leave that just as an outside facility, and then we'll have Hunt. You have the gym at East Columbus. They also, from time to time, can go to the Boys and Girls Club and play basketball. So we have plenty of places that they'll be able to go and hang out. I also want to see some cultural stuff, whether it be the arts or because not everybody wants to play sports. So I want to make sure that our kids have different arts, or whether it be art, cultural, drama. My granddaughter, she loves drama and acting,
She's
and
pretty good at it.
yeah, and singing. She loves that as well. So I want to make sure that our kids have different places that they can go and be a child and be comfortable at being a child. So those are some of the things that I want to see us invest in as well. And when you look at TV and you look at some of these other places in Atlanta where these kids can go and become whoever they want to become, we want to have that same thing for our kids here.
So that leads me to what will you do or help create to help our kids want to be successful?
Of course, you have the Mayor's Youth Council, but I also want to have a council for at-risk kids as well, so that we can see and listen to the kids. Sometimes you just have to listen and see what they want and try to make it come true. I want to have an at-risk council also that we can understand what these kids are going through and try to help them and give them some of the things that they need to be successful as well.
What ordinances do you think can be changed to improve quality of life for our young people?
I don't know. That's some of the things that I will be looking at, not just quality of life for our young people, but quality of life for our older people as well. Some of the ordinances that we have, and making sure that we're following their ordinances, they're enforcing the ordinances, whether it be through code enforcement or the court division. There's a number of things that I want to change. I don't really want to go into all the details because we have to get in there and talk to people and see what's working and what's not working, because that's the job of the mayor to run the day to day, not so much as the council. So I still have to get in there and talk to the people and see what's working for them and what's not working.
Okay, let's shift a little bit to public safety. That's a hot topic in this
Yes.
town. And in my opinion, having lived all over the world and all over the
Hmm.
United States, we have no more or no less violence than any other small town I've ever lived in.
Correct.
It's just a
We don't.
fact of the world we live in at this moment. However, like all small towns in this time frame, we have gun violence. I'm not saying we have tons of it. I'm not saying we don't have it. I'm just saying we do have gun violence in Columbus. What is your plan to reduce gun violence here?
I think what we've been doing has been working. If
Explain
you
that
you
because
know
I don't think
if you
people understand how our numbers have gone down. People
yeah
just
if
keep
you
talking negative, and there's certain people who continue to propel the myth that we have lots of random awful gun
right.
violence.
I mean,
And I it's not.
if you think about it, we haven't had a murder this year. That's something to be positive about. But we don't often hear about the positive that we have on in Columbus. Is most of the time we're portrayed as everything is wrong in Columbus. We have shootings all the time. Most of the shootings that we've had or actually all of the shootings that we've had have been people that know each other. So it's not like we just having random shootings or random acts of violence, or it's hard to police domestic violence. Some of it is domestic, some of it is people that knowing each other. So, you could have 100 police, but you can't control when somebody get mad and want to fight with each other, or somebody getting mad and want to fight with their spouse. Those are things that you can't control. Those are things that we've had. People breaking in people's cars. The only thing that you can do is protect yourself and make sure that you lock in your cars, you putting away your valuables. But we don't have people just randomly breaking in people's houses, different things like that. So we have no more violence than anybody else, but it's always the way that we're being portrayed. If these groups just say a better Columbus, if we truly want a better Columbus, then we would start putting Columbus in a positive light and stop talking negative about Columbus all the time. If that's truly what it's about, it should be a better Columbus for everybody and not just tearing down. Even when you tear down your elected officials, people read that in newspaper. You wonder why MS looking at moving or the W. People read the negative stuff that people put in the newspaper, that people saying on Facebook. So if you truly want your community to be looked at a certain way, then you have to talk positive about your community and stop all the negative or making up stuff, or fighting all the time in the paper.
That is true. We also need to actually talk about the issues, not about the emotions around the issues.
If it's an issue, then talk about it and let's come up with a solution on how we're going to fix it instead of just bashing people all the time.
Correct. And there's a lot of that people are not solution oriented, they're complaint oriented, shall we say. I know that on my podcast, I ask a lot of uncomfortable questions, and my solution is be transparent and I won't ask uncomfortable questions.
Right.
How will you work with law enforcement and community organizations to address the issues in our community? We do have some people who drive too fast, people who don't comply with certain laws and community based, how shall we say that, norms. How will you work with law enforcement and community organizations to address especially the law enforcement issues?
I just communicating with law enforcement, allowing them to do their job most of the time. That's the easy part. We have a chief for a reason. Allow him to do his job. We have to all work together, though, whether it be the sheriff department, the state department, whoever. Allow these people to do their jobs, and hopefully they can work together and make it a seamless community where we're tackling all the hard issues. A lot of times I find, and I was actually just talking to our city engineer today, people say that they're speeding down military or they're speeding in this area, but they've done studies and been out there for a week. And, what seems like speed limit may be 20 or 30, but what is when you're not in the car, It seems like somebody's going by going 40 or 50, but they're actually not. They're actually going the speed limit. And then a lot of times it's these cars are making them, especially these
Oh,
loud cars. A lot
the
of
muscle
times when
cars that they make loud.
it seems like they're speeding, but they're not. I've actually been in outside and I hear them. They hit the gas and it sounds like they're going 90 miles per hour, but then you look up and they only going 15 miles a mile. The car is just loud. So sometimes, that's been the case as well. I should have put my phone on do not disturb.
That's
So I'm
what I just
sorry.
did with mine. It's okay. I
Yeah,
just turned mine to do not disturb.
yeah. So a lot of times those are the issues, but I plan on working close with the chiefs to make sure that they have everything that they need in their cars, whether it be tasers, the computers, what's going to make them able to do their job. We plan on making sure that they have it, and that goes with not just the police department. That's with public works. We often look at public works and we say a lot of things about them also, but we have to make sure that they have the equipment that they need in order to do their job. We can talk about them all day long, but when it's 110 degrees outside and they out there, we want to say we see them sitting around. Yeah, it's 110 degrees outside. They take breaks.
They have to,
um,
or they
so
die.
let's stop. Let's do the things that we can help them instead of talking about them. But as a mayor, I plan on making sure that we present the council with the to help make the right decisions and get them everything that they need to be able to do their job, from public works to the fire department, the police department. You can blame somebody all day long if you're not giving them what they need. Now, once you give them what they need and they still not doing the job, then you hold them accountable. And that's what I'll do.
Okay. Now I want to shift a little bit to some of the social issues in our town. We do have a homeless population. I don't know how large it is. I
Mhm.
think there is housing, there is an organization that provides them housing, but not all want to go into housing. Okay. So there is the perception that we need to create a homeless shelter in this
Mhm.
town.
Right.
Are we without beds, or is it the perception that there are people who don't want to be housed, who prefer to, I call it sleeping rough. They
Right.
sleep outside. They don't, or they move from place to place.
Some of that goes back to mental health. Some of it, like you said, some people don't want to be confined somewhere. We just have to look at the person. We have to look at a plan. It's a great liability for a city to actually develop a homeless shelter. That's why we try to work with different groups that do supply, homeless groups, and making sure that they get what they need at the times when they need it. It's something that we're going to have to look at because it is a growing problem. So we just have to tackle it, how we see fit.
Are there local organizations that provide these support services?
There are a number of, you have the Homeless Coalition. We have community outreach. We try to, if somebody's homeless, just say if it's a family homeless, sometimes they'll put them up in a hotel until they can try to figure it out. You have the Homeless Coalition building the tiny homes out there. So it's a number of groups that are trying. It may get tough for them as well. So it may come down to everyday people making donations and trying to help out and volunteering and different things like that. A lot of times, even when they do have the shelters open, it's hard finding volunteers. It's just something that as a community we have to look at. I always try to live my life. And when I see people out on the streets, the song, What If God Was One of Us? I just try to do my part.
One of the things I know in my experience in living other places is, for instance, Salt Lake City, when it was having the Olympics and they were preparing for the Olympics, they looked for cities outside of Utah that had built homeless shelters, and they literally gave the people one-way tickets who were homeless and sleeping in the parks or sleeping rough in Salt Lake City, and gave them one-way tickets and gave them the address
Yes.
of those homeless shelters in those towns that they put them on the buses to. And so some of them ended up in Seattle, some of them ended up in Las Vegas, and some ended up in some other towns in Nevada. And those cities then became inundated with transient populations, and they were not financially equipped to take in that large of a transient new population that had no connection to that community. And so they found that it almost shut down some of their homeless shelters because they were inundated. and they didn't have the infrastructure to support such a an overgrowth of population that was literally sent there by another city on a bus. And it's caused there were a lot of lawsuits that emerged out of that. So I think we need to be careful how we address this problem and do it in a way that's that works for our city, but also doesn't put an undue burden on the people who are trying to the organizations that are trying to provide these services.
Right.
I think this is going to take a unique approach.
Yeah, I think so. But as a mayor, you just have to get in there. You meet with other cities. When we go out of town to different events, we have a chance. They have meetings with mayors. So you talk to different mayors and see what's working in their city and what's not. You can't do it all by yourself. You look at something that somebody else may have already done that's working, and you try to see how you can implement it. Those are It's called networking and trying to figure it out. And I think every city, every state, everybody is trying to figure out things how they can.
Well, that's an interesting perspective about going to conferences and workshops with others. I'm going to ask you a challenging question.
Mhm.
How will you, as a leader, continue to grow and improve your leadership skills while you are in office?
I was actually talking to my sister today, and she's very religious, and she sent me a Bible verse that said, "Be slow to make sure I get it right. Be slow to speak and listen." In other words, it's saying sometimes you got to listen. Networking and listening to other people and going to conferences, going to mayors, to other cities and seeing how they're doing things. I'm a learner. I know how to follow and I know how to lead. Sometimes you have to follow, sometimes you have to lead. And yeah, I'll never be a mayor that I can't listen to somebody else and learn something from somebody else that's going to be beneficial to our citizens.
Okay, so let's get on with that in mind and talking about governance. How will
Hmm.
you ensure transparency and accountability in city government? That's my passion. That's where I spend my time and I butt heads with a lot of people in this town for transparency and accountability. What will you do to create more transparency? I think the current mayor has I think he's made an attempt to be transparent in his work. I think that it's not everything can't clearly things about employment issues,
Right.
HR, that they can't be transparent about those things because those are privileged and private information. But I
Where we can be transparent, we'll be transparent. Where we cannot be right then, we won't be, and we will make it in the future. If it's something a business is coming to town and they don't want to announce it, then we know we won't say it until they get ready to announce it. But anything dealing with city government that the citizens should know, they will know. I don't have a problem with that. I have nothing to hide.
will it go on the website for the city? How will it just be will there be mechanisms in place
Well, there'll be
for
mechanisms. We have a freedom of
Information
request,
Act?
information act. Yeah, if it's something that somebody wants, we'll provide it to them. I have no problem with that. Like I said, I have nothing to hide. Never have. If somebody wants to know something, then we tell them.
That leads me to I know that there is an organization here in town that keeps
Hmm.
saying that we need a forensic audit, we need a forensic audit.
Right.
First of all, they're exorbitant for a city to produce. And our city is not a rich city because most of our town, we have a small population for our city and our tax base is not that large nor that affluent. Tell me about the story behind all that and why it's a waste in your mind. As you've said, it's not the best path for us to go.
It wasn't the best use of taxpayers' dollars. We have an auditing firm that audits our books every year. Of course, it all started when we had an employee, a CFO that stole money.
He got caught.
He got caught by the administration, the former mayor. He thought something was wrong, and we got with the auditors. They started looking. And this was probably in between. They probably would have been caught at the end of the year when they did the audit, but this was in between that time. And so he got with her. They started looking, and they actually tracked down. They actually got all the money that was stolen. The state auditor came down. They turned everything over to them. The person went to jail. The state auditor looked at the books, didn't find anything else. Our auditor didn't find anything else. We've asked her time and time again, did she think anything else was missing? She did not. It's just a myth, and people ran with it. I thought it would have been a waste of taxpayers' dollars, so that's why I did not vote for it. It wasn't that we were trying to hide anything. It's just a forensic audit. They are expensive.
Very
Um,
expensive.
Yes. So I felt like it would have been a waste of money. If I'm only one vote, but if they had voted to do it, then we would have had to go for it. But I think the others thought that it would have been a waste of money as well. And not just them, citizens thought that it would have been a waste of money. You had a handful of citizens that just put it out there, along with the ABC group, of course, and people ran with it. And because we did not vote for it, they want to say that we had something to hide, which we did not have anything to hide. And that was the story.
You're only a steward of so much money,
Right.
and if you have a mechanism in place, how are you preventing anything happening in the current and future CFO or any other person who touches the
Well,
money?
we've changed a number of things. People having to have two names on checks to sign checks. We everything that the current auditor, has given us that we needed to put in place, we have put in place to make sure that it won't happen again. And you can never say that it won't happen again, but we have stuff in place to hopefully catch it sooner. Because if somebody wants to do bad, they're going to do bad, or they're going to try. But the only thing you can do is just have mechanisms in place that you can catch it, or you can hopefully discourage them from even trying it in the first place.
Okay. All right. So this leads to just a couple more questions if you have a little bit more time.
Okay.
Okay. How do you plan to communicate with the citizens if you're elected? Are you going to do press conferences, social media? I know the current mayor does a lot of press conferences.
I can tell you, I won't be doing a lot of press conferences like that, but I do plan on communicating with the citizens. We will have a PR person that will be actively communicating with our citizens via Facebook, whether it be any other means that we feel that we can get the word out there. A lot of times, I think not just communicating after a council meeting, but communicating things that are going on, helping our citizens get the word out when something else is going on, or if we have bad weather. That's a way for us to communicate. But we will be actively, every means that we can to possibly get the word out, we will use it to get the word out. But no, I would not be having a press conference every.
You're not going to have a
Yeah,
conference to explain what you already explained?
exactly. No, I would not. No.
Okay. All right. And our council does have to, we do adhere to an open meetings rule, and our council meetings are recorded and
Right.
one can see them. Are the
Mhm.
work sessions also recorded?
Yes, I do believe they are.
Okay.
But we didn't do it today because the T person was out. But for the most part, they are recorded, and you can go back and look at them.
Okay. This election, just as in the 2021 election, is rather divided. After the election, we all have to get back together, back to our own lives and working together as a city. How do
I
you
don't know if we necessarily really divided as much as people think that we're divided. We
some
have
of our
people that try to keep us divided, whether it be during election time or after election time. But I don't think we're as divided as people think that we are.
I don't think we are either, especially watching things that have transpired on the internet, shall we say. How do you plan to create a unifying spirit across our city?
I'm gonna be a mayor for everybody. My door will be open for everybody, no matter who it is, whether the ones that voted for me or the ones that didn't vote for me. I'm gonna be open to everybody, and I have to be a mayor for those people as well. And I want those people to know that. I want them to know that they can reach out to me no matter who it is. And it's all about bringing us together. We want to do some events where we work some unity events that will hopefully bring us closer as a city. And I think that if we all work together, but now people have to want that as well. I can't be the only one that want it. You can't be the only one that want it. People have to put down their bad talk and give us a chance to work together. Give us a fair chance. Once elected, give me a fair chance and allow me to do my job. Allow me to bring us together if you want to come together.
What is your dream for this town that goes beyond you in the next 4 years? What is your What's your hopes and dream for our community?
I want to see us all working together. I want to see Columbus being what Columbus can be, leaving all the negative aside. And I want to see the university flourishing. I want to see businesses flourishing. I want to see entertainment. I want us to be able to be safe in our homes. And I think we can get there. Not safe in our homes. I want us to feel safe because I think most people are safe in their homes, but I want us to feel like this is my town. I'm proud of Columbus. I want everybody to be proud of Columbus, and I want us to show it.
I think we all agree to that.
Yeah. I was born and raised. I'm proud to be from Columbus. You won't hear me saying nothing bad about Columbus or the people in Columbus. No matter how some of them may talk about me, I wish everybody peace and blessings. I wish everybody could prosper. And if we could all do that and love each other and be respectful of each other, then I think our city can grow and we can get there. We can unify our city.
I think Columbus is on a cusp. We can
Mhm.
go one of two ways right now. We have an opportunity because the size of our town and the type of people that live here and the nature of our community, I think we are on the verge of we can either be one of the best small towns in the
Mhm.
South, possibly in the nation, or we can continue to fight and crumble. I really think that we're at an important crossroads in our town's existence, and I think
And
it's really important.
what people have to realize is that Columbus is not the Columbus of old. We are a melting pot, and
Thank
we have to embrace that. If we can embrace that and come together, then Columbus will be so much better. And I'm pretty sure every place has their issues, but if we can put some of those issues to the side and learn to work together, and like I said, learn to be respectful of each other, and that would go a long way.
Do you have time for one last question?
Sure.
We know that the state is rumbling about moving MSMS to Starkville, giving and us having to pay $90,000, $90 million to Starkville to build a new high school. For some reason, even though we have these buildings here that they don't want to put any money in where MSMS already exists, and we have the W. What do you see is your role in fighting to keep the W's doors open and viable and a continuing or going back to where it was more of a contributing factor to our community and it was enmeshed with our community? And how does that include MSMS?
I want to see MSMS stay in Columbus. I want to see the W, do well in Columbus. But it's going to take every citizen in Columbus voicing their opinion, supporting MSMS, and supporting the W. If we could do that, then I think the people will see that this is the best place for Columbus for those two schools.
How can
But it's,
how
it's
can
going to take all of us.
how can citizens support MSMS and the W? What should we be doing?
Right now, you should be reaching out to your legislators and letting them know, voice your opinion to them, letting them know. But when it comes to whatever they have going on, we have to start supporting them. The city of Columbus should be, when you go to Starkville, you are at Mississippi State. We have to do the same thing. Businesses have to buy in. The W merchandise, MSMS merchandise, we should be, it should be all over our city. So when people come here, they know that we're proud of those two schools, that we support those two schools. And if we did that, then I think the whole state will get the picture that we are in full support of those schools because we not only talking the talk, we walking the walk and showing them when they come to town, how proud we are of these two schools.
Okay. Is
My
there any
granddaughter wants to go to MSMS, but I don't know how comfortable I would be letting her go over to Mississippi State because it's such a big school. I think the smaller the spot is, the better that these young kids would do. They already grow up fast enough.
One of the things I find interesting in all the things that when they talk about moving this MSMS to Mississippi State, they never talk about the crime rate and the sexual assaults and the assaults on persons rate,
Right.
and they gloss over all that. And when you compare that to the W, it's definitely is a significant number, and I would be very uncomfortable as a parent to send a child, male or female, to live on campus at Mississippi State who was not 18 or older. I would have a very hard time sending a 16-year-old there.
I agree.
That's I and I've heard lots of parents around the state that I know say that they struggle with that.
Mhm.
Stephen, but as we go to close up, is there any final thing you'd like to say to sum up what you'd like us to know about you as a candidate?
I'm not just talking. I've been doing the work for 9 years. It's a little bit different being the mayor and being a councilman. I think I can do so much more as the mayor in the day-to-day operations because you control a lot of things that would be beneficial to our city. Given a chance, you will definitely see a difference in how things are operated in the city of Columbus.
Okay. I want to thank you for coming on my podcast. Uh,
Thank you.
I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
All
And
right.
this is the Tom Bigby Tales. Until next